Afternoon guys, Sunday afternoon, and with today, although it's a little bit overcast now, the definite feeling of spring seems to be upon us. We have beautiful sunny morning this morning. It's cooled down a little bit now. We've got only one day in the next 7 days where we're looking to go into negatives, and so I wanted to do a bit of a pre-spring look at the fig trees that exist, the fig cuttings that I have already rooted, and kind of give a bit of a pre-season indication of what they look like, so that when we follow them throughout the next year, we will be able to see how they go and see how each kind of variety responds to just life in pots or in the ground, wherever I might put them. And we'll be able to see them from cutting all the way to fruit. Now these ones here are obviously the fig trees that I had previously. They've all been pruned up about a month ago. I pruned these up, maybe a little bit longer. These are all the established figs that I have. None of these are showing any signs of waking up at the moment. But over here on the table outside, I have a few tasks that I'm going to do today. Some of these tasks I might put at the end of the video, I'm not sure yet. I will also do a full list of the fig cuttings that I have that have actually successfully been propagated, so we can see all the different varieties that are there, and we can see how they actually kind of succeed or potentially fail. And then more importantly, we'll be able to actually test each of the varieties, because as I mentioned in the title of this video, I bought essentially every single cutting available in Australia, at least advertised on eBay this year. And Australia is, as us Australians know, very difficult to get new varieties of plants into the country. We have extremely strict biosecurity laws, which mean that no cuttings from overseas are going to get into the country. And so with plants, with fig trees, where we've got all these common American varieties which seem to be very, very common overseas, they are sometimes being sold in Australia, and it is possible, for instance this one here, the Italian 258, this is not a plant, a fig cutting that's ever been recognized in Australia. And so the fact that I have one here means that either somebody has imported it and successfully managed to distribute it, or this is actually a different type of fig. So I do suspect that a number of these varieties are going to be mislabeled. I think that there will be many in here that aren't as they're meant to be, but we'll find that out. And as we do so, we'll be able to kind of catalogue what's available in Australia, see how they're going, and we'll be able to see how they taste, most importantly, at the end of it. Because no matter what the name is, at the end of the day, we're all here about the taste. We want different, unique, tasty varieties of figs, so that when we put one in our garden or we grow some in pots, we know that we have the absolute best variety. Or if you already have fig varieties, then we have some varieties that we don't have before, and we're not adding an extra black Genoa to the collection that we thought was a Genovese Nero, or whatever the case might be. The other things I'm going to do today, I've got a bucket down here. This is a bucket of water. It's been filled up with this product called mosquito bits. This is something to control fungus gnat larvae. It's a bacteria that goes into the soil. Doesn't affect anything except mosquito larvae and fungus gnats, and this bacteria will actually kill all of them. So I'm going to be doing that as a preventative treatment for not only all the figs here, I'm going to be doing that for all the plants in the tent today. I'm going to be fertilizing them all in both tents. In fact, I'm going to be adding fertilizer, which is normal. I've got a couple of different products. This doesn't have much left in it, so I'm going to chuck this in the bucket too. We have another product, root roids, which is almost finished. I'm going to chuck that in the bucket. And we have another inoculant. This is another fungus and bacterial inoculant that's good for plant roots. All natural stuff. Not everything I use is organic or natural. I don't think this is an organic fertilizer, but I do like to use the biological controls where I can. For instance, all the ladybugs and lacewings and other things that I've added into the tent over the last couple of days. So I'll leave this first half of the video here for those that are interested. Although one thing I forgot to mention, I am actually going to be repotting a bunch of plants as well. Some of these plants in the tent have been coming through their pots with their roots. So I will be potting some of these up today, even though I'm running out of room in the tent for larger pots. I want them to get a really good head start on the season. I want to make sure that by the time summer comes along, even though they'll only be first year figs that we're trying, and I will note that some of the figs that I do end up fruiting this year will not be the best examples of that particular variety of fig, because first year figs aren't going to be at their premium maximum kind of taste capacity and growing capacity. They're still just cuttings less than a year ago by the time these fruit. So we'll see how they go, but I do want to encourage them to put on as much growth as I can, and I'll do that by potting them up now, as well as for the ones that need it. And I'll, after this video, after this segment, once I've potted everything up, I'll come back and I'll actually go through every variety that I have here, and we'll have a look at each one. This might end up being a long video, which is why I'm going to end this first half now, for those that are interested in a cutting by cutting breakdown. But for those that are watching and do want to know about all these cuttings and follow them along from the very start to the very fruiting stages, well, it's going to be here for you. So I'm going to get to work. It's going to take me a long time to do all the fertilizing, all the repotting. Probably going to have to mix some new soil mix in the meantime. So I'm going to get started, and we'll come back once that's all done, and we'll start to go through each of these individual cuttings. And I will also note that there are a whole bunch of cuttings still in the grow tent, in fact in both grow tents, that haven't budded out yet. So these are the cuttings that have successfully rooted, successfully budded, and that I can say with pretty good confidence that these will have no problem getting through the next season and producing figs. Alright guys, for those who are going to leave you here, I'll catch you in the next one, and for everyone else, we'll see you shortly. Alright, I'm back. It's taken an hour or two to get everything done, but everything's been fertilized and watered, and has been potted up where necessary. We've treated it for potential fungus gnats before they start to become a problem. Added some of that beneficial bacteria and fungus to the soil, and hopefully we'll give these guys the best head start that they can. Now, without taking too long to do this, I'm going to go through each of these plants that we have on the table here, the different varieties. As I said in my previous video, I've got a number that are still in both tents, some which haven't put out leaves or roots yet, and we'll see what they do over time. But these are the ones that have rooted nicely. These have come out and put on all their leaves and their growth. So we'll start with these ones here. So let's get straight into it. This one here, this is one of the very first cuttings I took in my original videos. This is Zidi. This is a fig plant supposedly from Turkey called Sapanca. We have Black Tuscan here. We have Maasai Black. A fig called Asang. This is meant to be a deep blood red fig, which I'm actually really excited about. Got one in here, it's just leafed out in the last couple of days, called Galicia Negra, which is meant to be like Black Galaxy, I assume. It's meant to be another very nice dark fig. We of course have our Martinega Ramada from inside. This has continued to be watered every single day, and the roots now are almost needing to be repotted up. So this is just only kind of emphasizing to me that we treat figs just a little bit too dry when they like to be a lot more wet. We have a fig called Black Madeira, or everybody knows Black Madeira. In fact, we have two Black Madeiras because we lost the first one, if you remember from one of my earlier videos, and then luckily both the new cuttings that I took of Black Madeira, wherever that is, have come out nicely. New cutting here called Red Canargia. This one was a gift from somebody that I purchased a bunch of figs from, so I'm very happy that that's come out and is doing really well. This one was actually one of the quickest cuttings that I've ever had to take as well. This Red Canargia, this in about 7 days already had leaf and roots on it, so doing really well. In fact, this is the second Red Canargia. The first one is even bigger. This is the first Red Canargia. This is the one that kind of went off in 7 to 10 days, and it's doing really well. This fig here, which is looking a little bit measly, is Purple Adam. I moved this one from the outdoor grow tent into the indoor grow tent. There's a bunch of things in the outdoor tent that could be giving this headache. Spider mites seem to love these plants. Aphids are in there, obviously. I've moved it indoors, and since then we've started to put on some new growth, which is really good. So I expect that that's going to come back quite nicely. This is a fig called Isbat Anaj, or Isbat Anaz. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that properly. Beautiful dark leaves on this one. This has got one of the largest leaves of any of the cuttings that I've taken this year. Got one here called Basilica aspera, or the white royal. It's a Greek fig. This one didn't actually start as a cutting with me this year. There's a couple here that came as plants, and this is one of them. It's actually not done too crash hot in the grow tent. I'm going to pay a little bit more attention to it. I'm not sure why it's a little bit stunted, but we'll see what happens if we can't give it a little bit more water. Perhaps might be the problem. It was a bit shaded by some other plants. One of the plants from Daly's, and I decided I was going to get a Daly's brown turkey. This came as basically bare rooted sticks, so all this leaf growth is the last 2 weeks. And I wanted a Daly's brown turkey as kind of the baseline brown turkey fig in Australia. There are apparently 2 common cultivars of brown turkey in Australia. Daly's have one, and the other one I believe is an English brown turkey. We've got Desert King here. This is another one that wasn't doing too well in the outdoor tent. I moved it indoors, and we put on some lovely new growth since that's happened. This was part of those figs that I showed in another video that came as measly tiny little cuttings, and surprisingly every single one of them seems to have taken. This is a Lebanese green. So maybe these really short figs, maybe I gave some undue criticism to the size. I do like to see larger cuttings, but these ones all seem to take without a problem at all. Another one from the indoor grow tent. This is Violet Sapor. And this one has put on some vigorous growth, and the thing I like about this Violet Sapor is the shape of the leaves is really kind of cool and unique. It's quite sharp, pronounced edges along the edge of that fig leaf. There's a lot of serrations and teeth, which I just like the look of, compared to, say, this Reconardia, which has barely any, or your very standard kind of common fig leaves that you see everywhere. These are really kind of cool, and I think this one here is actually another Violet Sapor. I have 2 of these ones, and they both kind of have that really cool funky leaf shape, which I really love. Another fig here, it's called Red Lebanese. These ones, like for instance the Lebanese green and the Lebanese red, they're probably generic figs of a particular color from Lebanon. Obviously they could be known in America or other places as figs of a different name, but these are what I've got them down here as. This is an unknown variety, so you will sometimes see, if you purchase figs on eBay or other places, this kind of designation of Unk. So this is called Oscar Unk, and that Unk is an unknown. So it's probably either a seedling that popped up that somebody has really liked the taste of and has put it out there and named it Oscar, or it's a fig that was previously known by another name. They lost the labels, and somewhere along the way they renamed it as Oscar. This one is the Della Signora Hivernica. This one here has always put on a lot of growth. It got potted up again today, which is good. Lots of roots on that one. A lot of good thoughts coming from this particular plant. Really looking forward to it. Some people call it, well, the guy that I bought it off eBay says that is a Black Madeira killer. And there's a couple of fig YouTubers out there, and I'm sure that many of the people that are subscribed to my channel are going to be subscribed to them. For instance, Ross Rady is one, and he talks a lot about this Della Signora Hivernica. And when that happens, I think that it becomes a new and in thing to get a fig like this. So it's highly likely that if any of the figs in this collection are mislabeled, a fig like this could be mislabeled as a very popular fig from overseas to get more sales of the cuttings. Who knows? This is the second Black Madeira that I had. So this is the one that was in the grow tent. We've got lots of nice roots on this plant here. Lots of good upwards growth, so that one's doing really well. So Black Madeira is another one of those really famous black figs that people always talk about. So I wouldn't be surprised to find if this comes out one day and it turned out to be, I don't know, a Black Adriatic or one of the very common black figs in Australia. I wouldn't be surprised at all, because names like Black Madeira both sell at a very high price. The cutting for this is between $120 and $150. And it's very, very popular, so it's a lot of kind of motivation for a seller to sell a black Madeira. This one's called Pingo de Mel. Now Pingo de Mel has is kind of it means honey fig. I think it's a Portuguese fig. There is a lot of mislabeled Pingo de Mel in Australia. There was one that was sold by Dalli's that is very kind of famous in the fig communities because it was a beautiful looking fig, but they no longer stock it. They don't seem to have the source material anymore, and because Pingo de Mel basically just means honey fig, almost any yellow, white, or even kind of reddish coloured fig with a honey kind of interior might be labelled as Pingo de Mel. So we'll see over time how that one goes and if it is actually nice. Alright, this one here is another Delia Senora Hivernica, so I've got two of those. There were two cuttings sent with this particular plant and they both took nicely. This one here that's only just come up, I thought I'd lost this one, but it's come up from the bottom, which is really nice. This is called a Moroccan Giant. We have Black Mission fig here. This is not one that I started as a cutting. This one has really beautiful dark green leaves. It's darker than all of the other plants that I have here, and I'm not certain if that's something specific with the variety or if this is just a little bit healthier, but this is a Black Mission fig. Down here we have Violette des Soleils. This is one of the ones that I'm really excited about. It's meant to be one of the best tasting figs out there. This one is a really healthy, beautiful plant. It took a very long time for this plant to kind of strike, so I'm glad that it's come back and I've come up and it's looking really healthy now. I immediately put it in a very large pot after the initial plastic pot stage, just to make sure that it wouldn't have to have multiple transplants or I could potentially lose this plant. I also picked up another couple of cuttings from a different seller of the same name, just to kind of see, number one, are the two varieties of Violette des Soleils from different sellers the same plant, which they should be because it's a named variety. There should be a single mother plant somewhere in the world. But number two, see if they're different, which is the one that's more likely to be the real thing. Fig called Flanders. Flanders has been in Australia for a long time. It's not very common. You can't buy it in the nurseries or anything like that, at least not very easily, but it is one that has been around for a very long time. This is the Palmata Arabia. Now this is, or Ficus palmata, this is not in the same, it is in the same family, but it's not the same species as these figs here. This one here is slightly different. This is a Ficus carica, this is a Ficus palmata. So this is curious to me just because the figs and the plant are slightly different. I'm curious to know if the figs are tasty or if they're not very good. We'll soon find out. White Adriatic from Daly's came as a small plant, so it's doing really well. I've picked up a White Adriatic. They're a very common fig in Australia. You can pick these up at almost any Bunnings that you want to go to. Any nursery that you come along to should stock White Adriatic. Now I have an unknown fig in my front, which I purchased as St. Dominique's at the time, and it came out as a white fig instead of a purple fig. So I'm assuming that that was the White Adriatic, and I've got a second one now so that I can confirm to see whether or not it is in fact White Adriatic. White Adriatic are a beautiful strawberry tasting fig, very nice fig. This is a cutting from the one out front we were just talking about. So this is a cutting that I took from that unknown fig, which I think is very likely to be White Adriatic, doing really well, potted up recently. We have this one here called Cape White. It's a white fig, obviously. This one came as a plant, not a cutting, but it's also doing really well. And that brings us back to Pingo de Mel. I don't think I missed any here. Delia Senora. What's this one? Brown Turkey. We did Royal White. I think we've actually gone through everything here, so I don't know how many varieties there was there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. I'd say there's about 30 to 40 different varieties in there. Some of them are duplicates, but that's going to be a really nice base to see all the different figs as they start to come on, all the differences in flavour. And as I titled this video, I've got all the cuttings so that you don't have to. By the end of this, and this will be a multi-year project because first year figs aren't going to be a good indication, but by about 2 or 3 years we should have a really good idea about which one of these figs are the best to own in Australia. I'm going to jump quickly over to the big grow tent because I do have a couple more varieties that I didn't bring out that we'll have a look at just to really complete this video as the complete collection. Alright, in the grow tent, and we have a couple of figs down here. We have Blue Province, which is doing really well. I didn't bring it out today. I don't know why I didn't bring it out with the rest, but chose not to do that. We have this one, which is a large fig that I bought as an established plant, but I've lost the label for, don't remember what it is. I'm sure if I go back through all my orders I'll be able to narrow that one down though, because I didn't order that many established plants this year. The majority of them, 90%, were all cuttings. We have a Violet de Bordeaux, which is doing really, really well. We have a lengthier, and this is a very common, well not common, but it's a very famous French fig that is known all over the world, so I am very happy to have that one. It's another one that's often mislabeled and not seen commonly in Australia, so there's a good chance that this one is potentially mislabeled. I didn't bring this one out because I saw it actually had some of those red mites on it, the mites that came with my biological control pack, and I've moved it under this plant here because I've noticed some horrible new spider mites on here, and I don't want to spray the spider mites because if the parasitic mites are becoming established, they'll most likely die as well. We have Celeste. Celeste is a very famous fig. This is from Dally's, so this one is fairly sure it'll be what it says it is. And we have down here is our little Capri fig that I screwed up and planted upside down the other way. They now planted horizontally in this pot. We've got a bunch of other cuttings that are just coming on that didn't come out today, so they're a range of cuttings, and maybe once these leaf out properly I will do another video on those. There are a number of varieties that haven't leafed out properly, so I haven't included them in today's videos. But once this is all completed, I think I should have between 70 and 80 different varieties of figs. So we'll soon be able to tell quite well what is real, what is not real, what is delicious, what can be thrown away, and we will keep updating this over the year and the following years. And for those that are interested in all of these big videos, thanks for watching, obviously. And if there's any particular plant along the way that you'd like to see, because I've obviously got all these tropicals that I don't really focus on, at least not recently, just let me know and I'll put together a video of that. And yeah, I'll catch you all in the next one.